All right, welcome everybody to another session of Developer Hours. Today we're going to have an exciting talk about DataViews. I'll let our presenters talk more about that in a second. But I want to start off with some quick introductions. So my name is Nick Diego, and I'm a full-time sponsored contributor with Automatic, where I focus most of my time on creating content, working on core documentation and the meta teams. And I'd like to pass it over to my two colleagues, Andre and Wama. We'll start with Wama. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, hello everybody. Yeah, my name is Juanma. I'm from Spain, but I'm currently living in the UK, in London. And yeah, I'm also a full-time contributor to WordPress, sponsored by Automatic. And yeah, my role is developer relations. So I'm mostly focused on helping developers succeed working with WordPress. What about you, Andre?
Hey, so yeah, my name is Andre Maneiro, and I'm coming from Spain as well, just from the Northwest, Galicia. My role is being a developer, and I'm also sponsored by Automatic to be, a full-time contributor to core. I've been from a few years now, mostly to the editor, and in the past few cycles, I've been involved in DataViews.
Great. Well, thank you both. So before we begin, we kind of like to cover some announcements, just kind of some general things to be aware of as developers in the WordPress community. The most important of which is the WordPress 6.7 release, which is going to be coming out in November. And I'm going to share a link with you all in the chat. This is the roadmap for 6.7. It has a kind of a pretty good overview of the things that you can expect in the release with a lot of great links to additional material. So if you haven't caught up on 6.7 yet, I encourage you to check out that great post. I also want to share, so part of the content that we create alongside developer hours is writing for the developer blog. In fact, the presentation today kind of is a companion to two blog posts that are on the blog. And every month on the 10th, a blog article is released called What's New for Developers. And so the latest post is from September. So I'm going to put that there. So this is another great thing to, if you have 20 minutes in a week to keep up on things, I encourage you to read this post. It's a great synopsis of some of the most important things that are happening in WordPress, both in Gutenberg and coming up for the next release. And then this is the shameless plug. I encourage you all to subscribe to the developer blog. Here's a little handy subscription link in the chat. The developer blog is completely, all the people writing for it are contributors, and anybody is welcome to write for the developer blog. There's some guidelines on the site around how you can contribute and write articles, but it's a great place for new content on things that are coming in WordPress, like DataViews that we're going to talk about today. And the final thing is all these sessions are recorded. So if you have to leave or you miss something as we're going through this or you show up late, all the sessions are recorded. They're recorded on YouTube, and that link again, I'm going to put that here. Now, even though I pasted all those 4 links for you, I'm also going to share with you a document. This document is going to kind of cover the outline of what we're going to talk about today. It's also going to have some handy links. So if you don't want to copy and paste all those links from the chat, just copy the one that I'm going to post now, and this will have everything that you need that we'll be referencing throughout the presentation. And with that, I don't want to waste any more time because this is such an exciting topic. So I'm going to kick it over to Juanma to start giving us a great introduction of DataViews.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Yeah, let's talk about the DataViews component and specifically how we can leverage this component from a React app inside of the admin dashboard. So that's going to be the focus of today's session. I'm going to use as a reference 2 articles in the developer blog that I wrote. I'm going to share my screen so it's easier to follow what I'm talking about. So I'm sharing my screen here. Okay, can you all see my screen? Perfect. So I'm talking about this article using DataViews to display and interact with data in plugins. This is an introduction of using DataViews from a plugin, and it covers the creation of a specific project. That is a plugin that registers a React application using DataViews. And then there's another article that continues the project started in this one and is focused on actions and how we can do things from the DataViews. So I'm going to explain this project, and on the way, we can talk a bit more about DataViews. So let's start introducing DataViews. The DataViews component is used in Gutenberg, in the block editor. It's being used in different parts of the admin experience. For example, in the templates section, in the pages section, in the patterns. So the idea, and maybe Andre can talk a bit more about this later, of whenever he wants, as part of the phase 3 collaboration, there are some efforts to unify the admin experience, and the DataViews is playing a significant role in this unification. So the amazing thing is that the DataViews component grabs up all this experience. I mean, all that you can see here, like search, columns, you can order by columns, you can select the fields, you have different layouts. All of that is managed by this component. And the cool thing is that we can use that component in our own plugins, and that's what we are going to explore today. So let's start by creating a React application via a plugin. So what I'm going to do for this session is there is this repository. Maybe Nick can share a link of this repo in the chat. But anyway, this is reference from the post. And I'm going to follow the commits because these commits represent different steps and are increasing the complexity. And by following these commits is going to allow us to go a bit faster. So not waste time typing code and so on. So the first step in order to use DataViews component or any other React component, because at the end, the DataViews component is a React component, we need to inject somehow a React application in the admin. So this is what we have here right now. We have created an initial version. I'm going to explain the code in a minute. But this is like our first milestone. We need to achieve this. We need to add somewhere in the admin dashboard an option that creates a page where we can insert our React application. So in this case, we have added an extra option in the media menu. And in this page, we are inserting a React application. This is the code we have for that React application. So very quickly, I'm going to comment this code. We have a plugin, because at the end, what we are doing here is activating a specific plugin that is enabling this option. So we have this plugin, and then we have some dependencies, some JavaScript dependencies that for now, those dependencies only include WordPress scripts. So for this project, we are using a build process, which allow us to have clearer code. And we are using JSX for the React component. So in order to generate the final code that is going to be understood by the browser, we need to introduce a build step, and that build step is managed by the script library. So we can define this as a dependency. Once we have this, we can go to our project and do npm install. This will install this dependency in node modules and will enable these two scripts that we can run. So now if we do npm start, what it's doing is taking whatever we have in the src folder and is generating the bundled files that are the ones that are going to be used from the plugin. If we see here, those files that are generated here are the ones that we are actually serving in the admin. So summarizing, we have here a plugin, we have the dependencies of the project, we have a very simple React application that is injecting this application in a specific ID, and this ID is the one we have defined here. So this is code we have to generate the submenu, and in that submenu we are generating this HTML code. And as you can see here, we have an ID. And this ID is the one we are using here to inject our React application. So this is a very simple component, and we are injecting this application, so this component in this ID. So we have the bundled file from this src, and we need to enqueue this file. So in order to do that, we need to have an action to enqueue this asset only in the admin. So in order to do that, we can use the admin enqueue scripts action. And in the callback used for this action, we can actually enqueue this final bundled asset. So with these simple ideas, we can have our first React application. And with this base, we can expand this component and use inside this React component any other components. So in our case, we are going to use inside this subcomponent DataViews and some other components. So that's kind of the first milestone of our project. And from there, we can continue. So I'm going to, in this step, here we can see how we can install the DataViews component. So I'm going to address, and here what I'm going to do is sorry. What I wanted to do is to copy only the hash. So git checkout. So what I'm doing here is the following untracked working. The following untracked working tree files. What I can do is
you might want to clean it, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, because this is a generated folder, we can just remove it and repeat this again. Perfect. So we have the dependency added, and this dependency is the result of installing it. Here, we have it here. We can install this new dependency. And once we have this dependency installed, we can import it in our application And here's how it looks like the use of the data views. So we have several props, and we are going to explain these props. We have data, fields, view, unchanged view, default layouts, pagination info. So very briefly, let's explain a bit of these properties. Data is the data that is going to be displayed by the DataViews component. This is important because the DataViews component is just a UI component, so it doesn't really has any internal logic to get any data. So we need to pass to the DataViews component the data we want it to be to display. So we can pass an array of objects, for example, through this data, and that data is the what the component is going to display. Then we have the fields prop that is going to DataViews use this prop to get a definition of the different fields or columns. It depends on the layout. But talking about a table, for example, it will be the columns of that table. Through this prop, we can define all the different fields that are going to be displayed through DataViews. And then once we have that list of available fields, we can hide or show the specific fields we want to be displayed. Then we have the view that contains the object with the specific configuration of the DataViews. So I'm going to show this in a final project because I think it's going to be more clear. So the final version of the project is available in the repository in the devlog.views plugin. And here we have a live preview powered by Playground. So what I was talking about, the fields are these fields that we have here. Once we have them defined, we can choose to, for example, hide them or show them in any way. And then I was let me see where I can find where I was here. Here. And then we have the view. The view represents all the changes we do here. So every time we change a setting, for example, here we are selecting that we want to hide the image field. That's a change in the view. And that's a change in the object, that is being passed with DataViews. And in the same way, every time we choose to sort by a field, we want to search, or we want to apply a specific filter by topic. All of that are changes in the view, and those changes should be passed to the DataViews through the prop, the view prop. Then every time there is a change in the view, this callback is called. So we can use this callback to actually process and the data passed to DataViews or any other stuff. The default layouts contains an object with the possible layouts available for the DataView. For example, here we have table and grid. And it has some properties for those layouts, as we will see in a minute. Then we have actions. We can define actions for each one of the items. So for example, here we have 2 actions. For example, we have defined an action to upload images to media. For example, we have the library, here is empty, but through this action, we can add images to the media library. And then we have pagination info. This is the information used by the DataViews to generate this UI that allow us to navigate through the different pages. So as you can see, this is a process. This is information we need to pass to DataViews. So DataViews is not really calculating these pages. We need to pass this information to the DataViews. So once we have this, what we can do in order to enhance our project, we can generate a separate file for the app component, and we can continue our development from there. But there's a thing we need to do before that. We need to enqueue the styles for the DataViews property. So I'm going to go to this point of the project. This is the structure DataViews call here, DataViews style. So I'm going to go to this git checkout. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, we have the index, and we have separated the component in a different file, which is the app.js. And here, as you can see, this is a very simple app component that for now, it just
I think you stopped
contains.
sharing for stop sharing.
Okay. You are screen
Oh,
sharing.
I still see his screen.
Okay, it's just me then. Perfect.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let me know if you can see my screen, because it's
Yeah, just do
important.
something to double check. Just do something
Okay.
in the editor. Yeah, I see you are.
Okay.
Just me.
Perfect.
We don't care about me. Just keep. You're good.
Okay. Okay, I continue then. Let us know in the chat if there are more people having issues with not seeing my screen. So we were here, we have this component. I'm going a bit fast because I really want to cover a lot of ground, but all of these things that I'm explaining here are perfectly explained in the article. So this could be a great complement if you are reading the article. So yeah, that's why I'm going a bit fast. So here we have the component, and we are importing here the styles. The way we are importing the styles of the DataViews is we import a style CSS, and here we import the styles from the installed module. When we have installed the package, we actually installed a folder here in Node modules, and under WordPress, we should have here a DataViews, and here in build style, we have here the styles of the DataViews. So what we can do is import directly from here, and here I'm just adding some extra styles for the project. And the cool thing about the scripts package, which is the one we installed here and is the one managing the start and the build, is that whenever we run npm start, is going to not only generate a bundle for the index.js, but also a bundle for all the imported styles. Can be imported CSS files, SCSS files, and so on. So for example, here, the build folder, if I do npm start, here we can see how it's generating index.js and style index. And this style index is a CSS file that contains all the styles required for the DataViews component. And we need to enqueue this style. So this is something that we can add to the plugin, PHP, in the same way that we were enqueuing the bundled JavaScript file, we can also include the bundled or the generated CSS file in the build process. So with this, we can ensure that we have these two files loaded, and that's why we can see here. So we have, let me see if we can. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we cannot see anything yet because we have just here, we have just here a scaffold, we have just here a kind of a diagram, a structure, but we are passing variables that doesn't exist yet. So we need to be patient about this, and we are going to add all these different elements to see what they do. For example, the data, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to remove this now. And I'm going to it. Okay, what I have added is a data.js file that contains an array of objects. As you can see here, is an array of different pictures with different topics. And in the app.js, what we are doing is importing this array of photos, and we will use this to pass this information to DataViews. In this case, we will manipulate that data before passing it to the DataViews. So this is something we still need to do. But the source of the data that we will pass to DataViews is here. I want to highlight here that we are using here static content, but we could use dynamic content as well. So we could generate any internal logic here. So at the end, we generate an array of objects that we pass to the database component that is displayed by this component. But yeah, in this project, we have just static data. Now we have fields. So I should take out fields. No, sorry. Git checkout. Perfect. So as we mentioned earlier, with the fields prop, we can define like the columns of the table. Like maybe Andre has a better definition for this than the one that I'm using.
Can you say again? I was looking at some links based on the
Yeah,
questions.
I'm trying to find a good definition of the fields prop. What are we passing exactly to?
That's one. That one is difficult. I can try. So the fields will represent how the data behaves in the different scenarios. For example, Juan already said that there is some data, which is an array of objects with different properties, and each one of these properties is a field. And in fields, you define how they behave, for example, when they are displayed, or you define how they behave when you want to sort the data by that field, or how they behave, how what happens when filtered by that field. So yeah, my explanation would be fields is what defines how the property behaves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like each one of the fields. In fact, fields is a very good name. We can define for each one of the properties of the fields that we want to display. We can define things such as enable sorting. As Andre was saying, we can say to the fields, hey, I want this field to allow it to be sorted, for example. And in our project, we have here the playground. For example, this field doesn't allow ordering, but this one does. So this is defined with properties like this one. Then we have ID and label. This is the internal slack of the field. This is the text that is going to be displayed. Then we can also choose, we can define a specific React component that is going to define how that field is going to be displayed. Like, for example, here the author is using this React component to join the first name and the last name. And this is what we are getting here. What else?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if I might interrupt you, if I might interrupt you a bit. So because one of the questions was a bit related to this, so I thought, it might be a good time to touch on this. So the things that Juanma was explaining, like the render function, are not necessary. When you define a field, you can provide a type and say, hey, this field is of type integer or of type date. So, and that auto generates for you a lot of stuff, the render function, how they behave in sorting, stuff like that. But you can still override those defaults if you want.
Perfect. Thank you, Andre. Yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, you always learn something in these sessions. I would like to point to the fields documentation, which is available here. I think there is a link in the chat and in the doc. So here you have a description of all the properties you can use to define the fields. So here we are using just a few of them. I was talking about this one. This is a special field that allows specifically to sort, no, to filter by this field, by the different values of this field, the topics. So here, if we go here, we have the topics, which are these ones, and we can group by these different topics. And as you can see, we can select the specific operators we want to allow these fields to be grouped by. And yeah, we also enable sorting. So yeah, we defined with an array of objects the specific fields that we want for the DataViews. And that information is used across the different layouts. For example, we have here how the fields are applied in a table layout, but here we have the same fields displayed in a different layout. And there's a third layout available, that is the list layout. We can see it here in pages. This could be the list layout. So this is very handy if we want to show something, for example, in the right side. So yeah, these are like the three types of layouts that are currently available. No, I was okay. So let's continue with our project.
Mama, there's a couple of questions that might be worthwhile answering now before we continue. And this might be something for Andre as well. One of the first questions we had is, when you have that table view where you're seeing all the different entries, is there any performance issues when you have, let's say, 10,000 pieces of data that you want to display in a table?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that as well. I'm going to share a couple of links. So the first one is the package documentation, and the second one is an image which is within that documentation. So the idea, so perhaps I can share the screen really quickly, or Juan can open the image. If you just open the image, I think it's easier. And
this one?
I don't. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing that Juan mentioned at the beginning was that DataViews is an UI library. So it doesn't do anything with your data. You just pass to it an array of the data you want to be displayed. So it is the consumer responsibility to handle that data. What does this mean? So for example, in the site editor, in the pages, we use DataViews there. So the pages screen makes a query to the REST API that, and then we filter and sort server side the data. So to the client, we only have like, I think it's 20 by default, but then the user can change it to 50. I don't remember the details, but that's the amount of data that DataViews is going to receive. So in terms of performance, it's up to the consumer to do the things properly.
Perfect. There's one more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Palma.
No, I was going to ask if there are more questions.
Yeah, there's one more here. A few more. Well, while we're here, this is one asked earlier, is it possible to use DataViews within a block in the block editor?
Okay, so I think this was also a question that in your original blog post,
Yes,
Juan, I believe.
yes,
Yeah,
I have.
I think there's something there. So the TLDR is that DataViews is another React library, so it can be integrated in your blocks as you would do with a map library or whatever other interactive library you want. However, you have to do the things as so you have to use the view scripts in your block.json and stuff like that. So we haven't tested DataViews in that scenario, but it should work as any other library.
Cool. And then the last question I hear, and Seth, maybe his question has been answered. But when you're displaying content in DataViews, can you have it so that you can do basically data entry? So can you modify the data like a text input field within DataViews?
So if I understand the question properly, is that you mean if you can edit as an user? Okay. That's a topic for another talk. But perhaps Juanma can show the pages page in the site editor and go to the table layout. You go to the table layout.
Here in the pages?
Yeah, you switch to the table layout. Yeah.
Click view options, yep, there,
yeah.
and then go to
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you don't have it activated. Well, so what I was going to say is that there is a Gutenberg experiment that you have to enable. And if you do, in this view, you will see a new icon. And that icon allows you to actually edit the data. And this is done by a sister project called Dataform. And the cool thing about this is that both Dataform and DataViews share the same principles that Juanma has been talking about. For example, both projects have fields, and once you define fields once, and they work everywhere. DataViews, Dataform, and stuff. So that's a project that is not as mature as DataViews. It's not part of WordPress yet. It's just a Gutenberg experiment, but yeah, we are working on that as well.
very cool.
Yeah, the data forms that Andre was mentioning is referenced here at the end of the article. So here you have some links to learn more about that a bit more. Okay, so let's continue with the project. We were defining the fields. We still need to define the rest of the props. So If we go to the commits, we can see now the default layout. So let's so default layout is this property, and this is the object that defines the possible layouts that are going to be available in the DataViews. For example, in our project, we are only defining table and grid, and there are different properties to define each one of the layouts. But this, at the end, the default layout object is the one that enables having this. So we could have just one layout, two layouts, or three layouts. Okay, let's continue with the, this is an interesting part, the view and process data. So let's go here. Okay, so as we mentioned, we have the source of data, but we are actually passing process data, and this process data comes from here. So what we are doing is I think that I skipped the view and process data. Yes, everything in this step. So we have here several things happening at the same time. So let's explain them one by one. First thing, we are defining the view. The view is what we are passing here, but we are also defining a set view. We do this by defining a use state variable in React. So every time the view changes, the whole React component is going to be re-rendered. And we are passing a default value for view, but every time we change anything in the layout, for example, here every time we change anything here or here, or we search here a topic, the onChange view callback is called. So what we're doing here is directly assigning the set view, because what the onChange view is going to receive is the new view object. So we are directly linking these two elements. So every time there is a change, this new object defining the view is going to be used to update the state variable, which is here, which is going to provoke the re-render of the React component with the new view. So this is how we are managing the changes of view in the React component. But we are also using this view to generate the data that is going to be displayed, because this view can affect things such as the sort of the fields, the specific fields that are going to be displayed, and so on. So this could be very complex. I mean, this could be as complex as we want, depending on the source of data. But as we have static data, like in this case, there is a very handy util function provided by the DataViews package itself that is called filter, sort, and paginate. So what we do is we pass the source of data, which is going to be static. We pass the fields, we pass the view, and it's going to generate two props that we are going to pass it's going to generate two data that is going to be passed to the database, the process data that we will pass through the data prop, and the pagination info, which we can pass directly to the pagination info prop. So this information is going to be updated every time the view object is updated. So whenever there is an on-chain view, the set view is going to update this state variable, and it's also going to provoke that this data is updated. And this data is updated through the application of this function, which in this case is grabbed in a use memo in order to avoid additional calls to the same call to the function. I mean, if the function is called with the same input data, it should generate the same output data. So in this case, the use memo is caching the information. So, so the second time we do a call with the same input data, the cached output is going to be returned. So we are very close to have a very functional version of the DataViews. Very quickly, we are passing data. As you can see here, that data needs to be processed every time there's a change in the view. We are passing fields. We are passing the view object that defines, that represents all the settings that we have in the DataViews component. The onChange view callback that is triggered every time there is a change in the data view, like sorting, searching, grouping by any field, etc. Then we have the default layouts that represents the optional layouts available, and the actions that we haven't defined actions yet, and the pagination info. The actions is the only prop that is pending. So let's get that here. If we do git check out this. So that action, what we can also pass is an array of objects defining different actions that we can apply through each one of the items of the dataset. In this case, we are adding a specific action called see original. And what we are doing is getting the URL of each one of the images that is available in this items URLs row. See here for each image, we have item, which is the object URLs row. And we are opening this in a different window. So let me see if I can get a specific version of the DataViews here. Yeah. So here you can see that when we click this this action, we are getting the URL of each one of the items and opening that URL in a different window. So this is what we're doing here in actions. But we can do a lot more. So let's continue evolving the project and see the possibilities of these actions. So if we come here, what we can do is I need to remove the build folder. Okay, git and then I'm here. We are in the app.js. I think we are not in this upload media action. Let me see if I can fix this, and if not, okay. Okay, so let's comment the code directly from the from the commits because there's little time and I don't want to waste time in fixing this. So let's continue adding actions to our project. And in this case, we are adding an additional action. Here we can see how this file would look like. We had this original action, and now we have an additional action called upload media. In this version is just showing a console log, but I'm going to skip a few steps here, and I'm going to go to this one and view file. But we can do really cool things. For example, we can connect with the REST API and do a lot of things. For example, this is an example of from a specific URL, we can get that image and do a request to the REST API in order to upload that image to the media library. So very quickly, what we are doing here is in the action. And let me add some additional info. In the action, we defined the action with an ID, a label, a callback. Very simple action. This callback is the function that is going to be executed when we trigger that action. But we can use more properties to define that action. For example, an interesting one is supports bulk. This property allows us to multi-selection. So we can generate a multi-selection and then apply that specific action to different items at the same time. We can also define an icon like we have here. This is the icon of this action. And what is primary determines if the one with the icon is this property. Okay, so now that we have supports bulk, callback receives an images, which in this case may be an array of items. So that's why we are iterating over each one of the elements of this array, and we are doing some specific things. So for each image, what we are doing here is we are fetching that image from the original location. We are generating a blob, which is a format we need to generate in order to send that image to the REST API. All of this is explained in this post, so don't worry if I'm going too much. If I'm going too fast, I'm just summarizing very quickly what's happening here. Then we are generating on the fly a form data object, which we can use to generate the post request to a specific media endpoint. We can use to add that image to REST API. So this is just an example of interacting with the REST API, but imagine the possibilities. You can interact with all the endpoints of your WordPress installation, and you could also use the stores available in the WordPress installation, dispatch actions, and do a lot of stuff. So this is an interesting use case. I'm going to very quickly show a few more things. For example, here, we could also, this is explained in the post, but we can show notification boxes. We can use a spinner. In order to do that, we can define some state variables. So for example, whenever we select different images and when we upload the media, we can have a spinner and we can have different notification boxes to indicate that the upload process has finished successfully. And to finish, yeah, the last part, I think we are very close to the hour. I would like to mention a really cool feature of actions that are model windows. So I'm going to browse repository at this point, and we go to the app.js. The original, the C original action that we created earlier. Now we have here an enhanced version that uses a model window. So what we have here is this. So we can show a model window. So we have created this model window by defining, we had in the first version, we have ID, label, and callback. So the callback property has been replaced by this render model property that defines the content of the model window that is going to be displayed. And this is a React component. And we can leverage all the WordPress components. For example, we are importing here text, hstack, vstack, select control, button. And we can apply these React components in order to put the information in the way we want. So very quickly, what we are doing here is we are defining a state variable to define the size of the image. We are using select control to display the possibilities. Every time there is an option selected, we set this state variable that we will use whenever the button is clicked in order to open the right one. So, for example, if we go here, original, and we select small, we can get the small version of the image. So this is a very quick overview of the project. Again, as I said, this project is explained step by step in the articles, but I think this can be a quick overview of the DataViews, and it's being an excuse so you could ask questions about the DataViews.
Thank you very much, Wilma, for that. That was fantastic. Just to put another emphasis on it, DataViews, this is just the beginning of DataViews in many ways. And DataViews is going to be like the foundation for much of WordPress in the future. So if you're interested in this at all, I encourage you to read those 2 articles and start thinking about how you could incorporate DataViews into your own plugins or projects. And if you run into problems and if you run into issues, reach out to us. Ping Andre directly if you have any complaints, and because part of doing these sessions is to get people exposed to it and then also find areas that it can be improved. So I just want to thank again Wilma and Andre for being here today to share and talk about DataViews. Developer hour sessions, we do these about twice a month. The next session in October is going to be about curating the editor. And we don't have a date 100% finalized for that, but keep an eye out. That will be posted soon. So thank you everybody for attending, and we hope to see you on the next session. Again, this session the recording will be posted both on WordPress TV and on YouTube. Alrighty, we hope to see you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.